What up, how you doing? Thank you so much for joining me on yet another episode of Unmastered the podcast. I'm your host, Zimbabwe, aka TheUltraPoet, aka Ultra. On this podcast, I get to chat with some of your favorite rappers, producers, dancers, everyone who is contributing to the hip hop culture in Zimbabwe and around the world. And today I host the incredible Mu Netsi. Hey then, introduce yourself.
Yo, what up? It's Mu Netsi, Incredible Mu, aka Big Mu, MC extraordinaire straight out of Zimbabwe, Chitown representative.
All right. Big Mo, definitely a new one. I'm guessing it's for the ladies. But hey, now let's talk about. Let's say you meet a new person who doesn't know anything about you. For someone who doesn't know who Mu Netsi is, can you give us a brief description or a bit dive into what you do? Who is Mu Netsi and what is he about?
I'm a rapper and a lyricist, one of the chief architects of how vernacular hip hop is sounding and has been sounding for the last over maybe 15 years. Participated in everything, basically there when everything was being constructed from out of thin air, from the underground scene, from the battle scene, from way before hip hop was in the mainstream on radio.
I wanted to take it easy on the people that are gonna be listening. I wanted to take it easy for the people out there, but then you went hard. A few minutes in, you're talking about pioneering hip hop and shaping the sound to what it is right now. Let's talk about your journey. How did you start out as a rapper, and how did it happen, and how has it been for you? How has the journey been for you over the years? And I hear you say 15 years. That's a lot of time. How has that journey been for you and for your brand?
Well, I didn't want to be a rapper. I didn't want to be famous. We were doing hip hop for the love of it. So it was just my homie and myself in school. And that's how we got into rapping. We were just freestyling at lunch or after school instead of playing spots and stuff. So we were doing it for the love. And then I dropped Muzukuru Gogo in 2004. And things took off from there. I've never been after fame. I didn't want to get famous. I didn't want to be famous. So I was just always kicking my raps, making tracks and creating hip hop in a certain dimension, in a certain eclectic atmosphere. So that journey has been making music, making records, and making tracks for the love of hip hop, for the love of the culture. So because of this approach, kept me detached from everything and sort of gave me a bird's eye view. So I've been seeing what's been done, all the work that's been put in, and what's been done wrong also. And the only way I figured I could effect change into the climate is participating, which is the whole goal of what we're trying to do at this point in history.
Now you mentioned something interesting there about using things from an area view, which is quite interesting, and I've always thought that about you. You know, I've always been telling my friends like Mu Netsi is dope. Like Mu Netsi is dope. Like I've been listening, I'm following the Mu stations. I'm like Mu Netsi is dope. You know, and then people like, where is he? Like where is the music? So before we talk about what people are doing wrong, now let's talk about the music. And you say you have been on the sidelines trying to see what's happening, what's going on. And the one thing that I wanted, the number one reason I wanted to have you on this podcast is that I wanted to know more about you. There's not much about you out there, and I've been looking for your music on streaming sites and I can't find it. So the thing that I'm gonna ask right now is, for my benefit and from the person that's listening out there, is like, who is this guy? Like, where is the music? Because I'm probably sure that like 90% of the people that actually bump your music are people that are hardcore fans of hip hop because you're making like really like good rap, like some boom bap and old school kind of vibes that are really like dope, like deep. And as you said, you haven't always been like you've never been chasing that fame. Now let's talk about the projects that you've made. Take us into the journey from the first project you made, any major projects, any recent, and then I know about the Chitown to Masvingo thing, but we're going to talk about that later. Now let's talk about the projects that you've released before, like from your start to pre Chitown to Masvingo.
Muzukuru wa Gogo was 2004. Chaminuka Zimbabwe Superhero was 2000 and if it's not 8, it's 10. There's a mixtape, the 2 mixtapes. After that, there's the Beast Wars mixtape. There's the Kalahari Man Jack tape. And then from then, it's just been a bunch of releases. So what I've observed is hip hop seems to come in waves or phases. There's a fad that comes and runs, and then it dies down, and then it comes again because not enough participants were active. It's always just been a handful of players, who get hot for a minute, and then attention focuses on them, not the culture as such, because there's a whole disconnect between the masses and the hip-hop culture, but that's another story.
Now you talked about something really interesting there about the hip hop fraternity generally being disconnected from the general public because most people feel alienated, like from the English raps, from the deep bars. Most of us will be like, it's going over our heads, and the moment we start listening to that music, people will be like, they're bougie, they're all selective and everything. But then how has that affected your drive for the music? And seeing that you've been putting out music for consistently for the past like 15 years, as you have said, how has the disconnection from the general public and not being perceived more as artists but more of as people that are just trying to look for the quote unquote clout, how has that affected your drive and your passion and your energy and zeal for the hip hop culture?
Um, Thing is, it hasn't affected anything from my end, from my passion for the music, for to how I feel about the culture, because hip hop, it's elitist. It's an elitist sport, like it's classist. It's exclusive. It doesn't include a lot of people. It deems people worthy or not. So the minute you try to adapt your content so that it suits or it translates more to the general population, you get outcasted by hip hop itself. Case in point, there's the time I did that song, Ghetto Slogan. That was a perfect point of adapting, blending hip hop with the environment, and I caught flack from hip hop cats, like the masses did not have a problem with that, but I saw it as a way of taking the art form and pushing it in a certain direction, which could be understood and appreciated more. And there are a lot of cats out there that do that as far as hip hop goes, as far as the lyrics, the bars, and everything, trying to adapt to the masses, and they get treated as outcasts when it comes to hip hop. So part of the problem is we do not have actual hip hop producers that know what the target audience wants to hear, listen to, and actually mold the music so that it fits and it's acceptable to the masses. Another way is just to flood hip hop with a lot of great content. It'll draw people in on its own.
I understand that what you're saying and where you're coming from about uh, people not actually producing hip hop that people would listen to, and all that. Now, it brings me to the issue that you mentioned before. Now, let's come to that about the sound that is being made, and that the kind of content, the kind of lyrics that are being put out there. And you're saying you have a problem with some of those, like the lyrics, the sound, definitely. If we are talking about the single that you said you experimented and you felt like you felt backlash from the hardcore hip hop heads, what's your take on the general sound that is in the hip hop community at the moment? I don't want to name names, but you know exactly what I'm talking about. You know the people that I'm talking about, and let's talk about that sound, and what's your reaction to especially the sound that has been in the hip hop fraternity that has been making the waves, especially from 2017 up to now. There's been a sound that has been making the waves, that has been drawing the rappers to the radio, to the mainstream. What are your thoughts on that? And also you talked about hip hop producers not, like, quote unquote hip hop producers not being present or not being as viable in the nation. What would you suggest is supposed to be done in that direction?
So, in short, you've got a lot of young acts uh, making great quality content. The RPUs, the new tones, new acts like Django, the ASAPs, the Suns, the Danny Moods. All you need now is a group, a class of producers that's able to bridge between the audience and these young artists, just like you had Delani back in the days, directing Kingpin, directing XQ, directing Nesto.
I know I didn't wanna like mention names before, but I'm gonna say this. I mean, this is a candid conversation. This is an honest conversation. I wanna ask one thing. I don't know how you're gonna answer this, but I wanna ask this. However controversial it is, you mentioned Chris Newton, you mentioned Sun, Denim Hoods, you mentioned a lot of kids, Django Loco, you mentioned a lot of people that are making the waves right now. But there is one that is making more numbers than everybody else, Holy 10, but you did not mention him. And I'm guessing it's not because you forgot, or was it intentional? What's up? Balance me there.
No, it must have slipped, definitely. My bad. I'm definitely a fan of Holy 10, and he's doing it the correct way, when it comes to like trying to do it in Zimbabwe. Um, as far as the sound goes, as far as how hip hop actually sounds and what people are talking about and what they're saying, what I'm saying is, I feel if you want to consider it as a problem, it's only 10% of the problem. I believe you can market anything. You've got house music, you've got a lot of Nigerian music that's being played in Zimbabwe, and people don't know the lyrics to the songs, but they feel the mood, the energy, the vibe, you know, what it's, how it sounds like, how it makes them feel, because music is escape at the end of the day. So it really wouldn't matter much what people are talking about, but how it is marketed, how it is conveyed by producers, or how producers package the music sonically, and how people then actually market it. There are not too many professionals in hip hop. The tenets in hip hop are not, I said this a couple of years ago, they're not correct. You don't have your outlets where these kids can hang around. Hip hop venues, they might be there, but they're not as prominent as, the other genres. That's what I'm saying. You need the tenets of hip hop to be correct. You need more joints like The Fix, like what Mox is doing. But you need 10 Holy Tens. You need 50 Cents to make the movement gain traction. Because the problem, the weakness with hip hop is it's always had one or two, not more than five cats at any given point representing it, whether it was Stana, whether it was Mudiwa, whether it was Maskiri, whether it was Noble, whether it was Jeezy, Junior Brown, 10 Diamond. It's always been a handful of cats. It's never been an actual movement. It needs to be a movement. But let not it become a misconception that it's just going to grow organically, because music needs money to be injected into it for marketing to make it successful.
All right. I don't know why, but I would have taken you for someone who wouldn't like these mainstream rappers. Not necessarily Holly 10, but the formula that most of these artists are using. They come up, they're rapping about something real, they're making like really nice raps. And the moment they blow up for a beat, they lose that energy, that zeal, that hunger they have. And I understand that they want mainstream appeal, they want to be on the radio, they want to be everywhere, like to have shows, to be have bookings. And also let's put in this into your own career into context. How has it been for you? Have you been on radio? Have you been on TV? Have you been booking shows or everything? As you have said that the hip hop fraternity in Zimbabwe hasn't had that many people like on the mainstream or actually eating or making a living out of it. How has it been for you, like bookings and being on radio or anything? Or has it not been the right audience for your content or for your music?
How music works wherever you go, South Africa, Nigeria, United States, everywhere, is their marketing budget. It's a full production. Music is made, it's marketed, it's branded to an audience. So if you look at the Zimbabwean case, where music is thriving or is getting attention, there are resources behind that. Whether it's Nash putting resources behind that, whether it's Passion Java putting resources behind that, that's how you generate interest. That's how you're able to book tours. You need budgets for those particular things. So hip hop has never been on a broad scale done on that professional level. I don't know if I'm making sense. As the kids coming, that's why I was saying they don't have anyone to guide them, to tell them, no, you need to make songs like this, songs about this. Let's okay, your album is good, we need a song about this, we need to target this ABC and D. Hip hop needs balance. You need commercial cats, you need underground cats, you need conscious cats, you need cats that make dance songs. You need that variety, you need that balance, so that you attract as many people as you can.
Wow, you really made some really good points there, and it's really progressive for. I, I know this might sound bad or wrong or like I'm making an assumption, but listening to rappers like you, like Cynic, Ten Diamond, you are the kind of people that I wouldn't expect to be down with the way the hip hop industry has been kind of quote unquote diluted in a way, with people opting for more like mainstream thing, which is a good thing, so that there is representation at the top. But then at the same point, is it the right representation? Is are the people at the top representing the genre right? These are the questions that most people would never talk about or ask. But are the people that are up there that are being called hip hop artists, that are representing hip hop, are they the right people to be representing the genre? Being frank and being candid about it.
I wouldn't think it's their fault, because I think largely they don't really get to pick if they are the ones who uh, quote unquote represent the hip hop culture. their music speaks for themselves. So it's up to everyone else to just make higher grade music, whether it's underground or whatever. It just needs to be really good quality music that can translate to the audience.
All right, man. All right, man. I understand that you're a busy man and we don't want to keep you here. Let's talk about something real quick. What can we expect from Mu Netsi? Are we expecting an album or a mixtape anytime soon? Are we expecting any major projects in the next, I don't know, a few months or a year? What's cooking? If you can share any details about that.
A full length project is dropping in July, but before that, expect some singles, one or two singles.
Well, that's incredible, man. We want to get a little bit into how Chitown to Masvingo came to be. People will be mad at me if we don't talk about that. For real, for real. It's an incredible track, so full of bars. I'm still deciphering it. Almost a week into the record, and I'm still deciphering it. I'm not getting the full picture because it's so dope. Like, how did it come to be? And that was such an amazing. Django Loco is such an amazing artist. He complemented each other very well.
We collaborated over the phone. I sent Django the beat with the hook. He did the second verse, and then the third, the last verse, I did my part, and then he did his part. That's why the bars are cohesive. They actually make sense because we were doing the track. It was a collaborative effort over the phone. Like I did my verse, he did his verse, and then we did the third part. Like I just laid my part, and then he laid his part, and then the track was done.
The track is pretty good, and I haven't deciphered a lot of it, as I said before. And when I do, I'll come back to you and give you the credit that you deserve. But most of it is still going over my head. I'm still like, be like, oh, that's what they meant. That's crazy. And Django Loco, very good guy, very humble, doing the best he could do right now. And he got the best album of the year last year with the Bottom of Street's first book of Loco. That was amazing. Now let's talk about one incredible thing that I want to ask you. What music did you grow up on that made you into who you are? Because you definitely have incredible taste. Listening to your beats and the music that you choose for your projects. Who did you grow up on? I'm definitely thinking Nas or something, or Common or something. Who are the rappers or any other music that you grew up on, or movies that influenced your style and your tastes?
My grandmother had a lot of old records, so James Shimombe, a lot of that stuff. And then my uncle was into dancehall, so I grew up on a lot of dancehall. And then hip hop actually came later, and it wasn't even deep cuts. It was like Vanilla Ice, MC Hammer, stuff like that. And then later I went into Nas, Park, Digable Planets, underground and stuff like that. Roots. It was a very eclectic combination, and it just the common thread was the quality of the music. It was extraordinary, whether it was local or abroad. It was just a mixture of very good music. It was all over the house.
Wow, that's a great house to grow up in. Being grounded to what really makes you who you are and listening to music that really molds your culture. And I think that's really important as an hip hop artist. Not really like being bland and sounding like a generic person or a generic rapper from any other part of the world, but actually rapping where you are coming from. Now, before I let you go, I want to ask you two controversial questions. Most rappers will be like, bro, you don't ask that. I know it's a very controversial question, but who would you say is the greatest rapper of all time, internationally, wherever you think, and the greatest album paired with that? I know it doesn't make sense. It's like asking a chef what's their best meal, but you can give us something. You can give us something before I let you go.
People always gonna have preferences when it comes to and whom they think that is the greatest rapper of all time. But if we're measuring greatness in terms of impact, the greatest rapper will have to be Rakim, and the greatest album paired with that will be his 87, 86 record with Eric B, the Paid in Full. It had impact. It changed how everybody rapped and how everybody produced.
Well, that's certainly a very controversial thing. I don't know if anybody will be listening to this would love you to comment. I love Fading Food. That album is fire. Rakim, that man can speed. That man can speed. Even up to now, his raps are still so fresh, and the things that he was talking about are still so relatable. Rakim is just certainly dope. And I agree with you. He's really dope. He's definitely in my top 5, and that album is definitely in my top 10. It's dope. Now let's talk about. Now I want to thank you so much for taking your time to be on this podcast, for doing such a selfless thing, to be on something that's growing, that's visually not even going to benefit you or your brand in any visible way. But you took your time to be here to talk to me about these issues that are definitely going to help somebody out there who's going to listen. And thank you so much. This means a lot to me and to someone who's out there who's listening, who has been blessed by your story. So as your last response, I wanna give you a chance to talk to someone, a fan that's out there who is listening, and maybe a rapper that's out there that's maybe losing hope, that they might be feeling like, no, this thing might not be mine, or someone who's just like low-key a fan of your music and has been listening from the start of this podcast to this point. What do you want to say to them as your last response on the podcast?
Thank you for having me on your podcast. Appreciate it. To someone who's listening, who's in that particular mental space, life is not designed to be ideal or fair or textbook. No one cares what you're going through. No one cares what you've been through. No one cares what impediments you face. The only thing you have left now is just to keep on pushing, keep on going for yourself and no one else, because you only have one life and you're gonna die anyway. So you're gonna give up when you die, so you might as well just push through to the finish line.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That has been Mu Netsi, the incredible Mu, Big Mu, as he said himself. The man is amazing with the pen, with the bars. I don't know, man. He just is good. And thank you so much for listening to the podcast. This has been your boy Chitown, Zimbabwean, aka TheUltraPoet, aka the boy with no boundaries. Until next time, go and give us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, on YouTube. Subscribe, leave a comment, share with a friend that would love this. And thank you. We do this because you listen, and we love you. Until next time.